Basically, broke reviews is not intended for children under 13 years of age. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello everyone, how's it going? This is going to be a follow-up video to the most popular video that I have ever made on YouTube by far. 7 years ago, I released a video called All of the G1 Optimii, which is what I like to use for the plural for Optimus Prime. Um, so in the original video, I talked about 6 different interpretations of G1 Optimus Prime. I released that video 7 years ago, and as of the upload of this, it has about 223,000 views. So, fairly popular video for my teeny tiny insignificant channel. So in this one, we're going to talk about what Hasbro's been doing since, and of course I'm going to talk about those original 6 toys as well. I think this will be a fun journey just to see how, really the Transformers line has evolved over time, because there's so many Optimus Prime toys that it's ridiculous. So, real quick, I'm going to go ahead and talk about each toy that I'm going to talk about, and then we're going to break it down into groups and get into this. So buckle in, guys. This is going to be the long one. So let's get started. Of course, the first one here, because I tried to arrange them basically from release, quote, oldest to newest. I did the best I could. I may not be precise, so forgive me, internet trolls. Let's go ahead. First one here is just a G1 Optimus Prime reissue. Next up, we have the original Takara MP01, and I got that because I wanted the long smokestacks, damn it. Next up, we have a deluxe class from a 2-pack that was released with a G2 style Megatron. Maybe it was called Battle for Cybertron or something. I'm not entirely sure. Next up, we have a Legion class from a discount retailer I got a long time ago. Next up, we have a Creo that I put together, just kind of a classic style Optimus Prime. Next up, we have the Indomitable MP10. And those 6 were the original ones that I talked about in that video. So, there you go. Moving on, we got 11 more to go through. We have the original War for Cybertron video game Optimus Prime, Fall of Cybertron video game Optimus Prime, Legends class IDW style Optimus Prime, Generations Orion Pax deluxe class. Next up, we have Leader class Titans Return Power Master Optimus Prime. After that, we have Power of the Primes Optimus Prime Leader class. After that, we have Voyager Siege Optimus Prime. After that, we have Studio Series 38. After that, just for fun, I figured I'd throw this one in. We've got a Transformers Cyberverse. I don't know if they're called Deluxe Class in Cyberverse, but that's what I'm going to call it. After that, we just have a Jada Toys non-transforming Optimus toy. And then we have a Earthrise Leader Class. So that is basically it. Okay, guys, here we have the first group of G1 Optimii that we're going to be taking a little bit of a look at. And I wanted to start off with the theme of, for me, I call this my little part of the island of misfit toys. And you're thinking to yourself, well, it doesn't apply to all of these. You can probably see on a few of them, but I'm going to explain why. To me, personally, it's, quote, the island of misfit toys. And one of these doesn't really belong in that category because it doesn't meet my personal definition of it. But most of these figures really don't fit in with any of the toy lines that I've, been collecting over the years. They're basically one-offs. So, and a lot of these don't fit in at all to toy lines that exist in any way. So, I'm going to go ahead and take away the 2 that I think could fit in a bit with some toy lines, and we'll take a look at those last. But the reason this one is in the island of misfit toys is because, well, it doesn't transform, right? So it's definitely an odd man out. But I guess if you count that as transforming, he's transformed, right? So that's kind of why this one made the list. And the only reason this one's on the list, yes, I do realize this is part of the Cyberverse line, but I don't generally collect Cyberverse. So while this does not technically qualify, it does for me. Now, these other ones I think are all pretty kind of perfect examples by anyone's stretch of the imagination. Because let's start with the only vehicle mode. This guy just keeps rolling. Let's start with the only vehicle mode that I actually think is bad in this group, and that is, of course, this deluxe class that came with that Battle for Cybertron or whatever. This vehicle mode, let's just face it, it just looks like crap. Just no other way to put it. It's not attractive. It's just not well thought out at all. Very shitty. If I have to give this vehicle mode a rating, 1 out of 10. This is nearly the worst vehicle mode of any Transformer in my collection, so maybe it is the worst. I don't know. I'll give it a 1 or a 1.5. It's exceptionally terrible. We'll just say. So yeah, it's bad. It's shit. The end. Yeah, I mean, you can see why. I mean, it does not. It just looks terrible. Moving on. I like all the rest of the vehicle modes, by the way. This is, of course, the Creo, which is roughly, I would call it, deluxe-ish class size. And I think it looks really cool. Rolls really well, and it looks nice. It gives me, classics kind of Optimus vibe, and I think he looks great. Looks very, very cool. So, there's that. Very nice. Okay, moving on. This one, the reason he makes the list, well, this doesn't fit in a lot with any line. Neither does this one. This one most certainly does not. He's just a Legion's class Optimus kind of, maybe he would scale with some of the Titan class figures or whatever, but he doesn't really scale with much of anything. He's more like a Micromaster than anything else, so maybe he could be a Micromaster Optimus. So I guess we could debate whether this one belongs here, but I don't know. I think, truthfully, for its size, as tiny as this is, it absolutely is an excellent-looking Optimus figure. And it rolls well. Next up, we have the Legends class. Boy, do you remember those? The $10 figures we used to get. Attach this gun to him, but, you want to detach it. IDW style Prime, and he's looking pretty darn... Oh, slightly mistransformed there. Fixed it. Looking real nice. Has pretty good details on him. And then, of course, we have his version of Roller that he came with. He actually came with a roller, unlike a certain leader class I could name that I'll be talking about later on in the video. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. Moving on, we've got Cyberverse, and he's powered by a blue fart. At least that's what it looks like. I know that's not what it's supposed to be, but I do appreciate the fact that it came with this blast effect, and here's what it looks like without the blast effect, in case you're curious. And this is a really excellent looking... I like it because it's a very nice, I can think Cyberverse very well combines G1 and animated together, and I really like the aesthetic. So, yeah, very, very cool. Like it a lot. And then, of course, we have the non-transforming Jada Toys one. I'd say this is roughly Voyager-ish class, as we'll see, because this guy's probably going to keep popping up in this video. Just saying. Because he's, a bit of a stylized G1 Optimus Prime, but very highly detailed and very cool looking, I think. I especially like all the paint on him, yada, yada, yada. Just looks absolutely fantastic. So, most of these toys, I think, hold up today really well. There's only one toy in here that I think is bad. And I think we know which one that is. But to be fair, it was bad when I made this video originally 7 years ago. It was bad then, and it's bad now. And it will probably never be good. At least not to me. So that's it. I'm going to go ahead and get these guys transformed into robot mode, and then we'll be talking about that. Right off, we have this motley group transformed and ready for battle. Oh, sorry, I forgot one of them. There, now he's ready, but he won't be able to stand there very long, so he's got to go back to vehicle mode. And the Creo one, man, he knocked him out with his big gut, though. He sure did shrink when I transformed him, didn't he? Well, we'll get back to him. I just didn't feel like disassembling that and reassembling that Creo thing into robot mode. That wasn't going to happen, but hey, we have the G1 Optimus Creon, which is a pretty neat little figure. So there you go. Enjoy him. All right, we'll just set him right there. Basically lean up against truck campers. So anyway, we'll cover these one by one. We'll start with the Legions class, who I think is an absolutely pretty great, actually, little figure, you know. And one thing this guy has is blue eyes that are well differentiated from his head, unlike a certain leader class figure I know. But anyway, yeah, he's got some basic articulation. He's got kind of ball jointed right there at the hips. He's got full rotation there at the shoulder, and he's got a butterfly joint there for transformation. And he's got ball joints at the elbow. So for what he is, pretty cool little guy. So we'll just do a quick little 360 of the details of him, and there you go. And I think for size and price class, I think that is one fine looking little, we'll just call him Micro Master Optimus Prime. Pretty great, actually. So next up, and he doesn't like to stand either on this table. It's because I'm bumping into it, and he's just got little feetums. So we'll have both these guys kind of just, you know, leaning on each other. Lean on. Nope. I guess they don't have someone to lean on. They just want to fall over all the time. Let's just stick his gun down. He can use that kind of like a cane. There you go. Innovation. That's what we're here about. And basically broke. So anyway, we've got... Next up, we're going to show off the Legends class Prime. Of course, is a step up from that, and he's got pretty decent articulation. He's got ball-jointed knees and hips. He doesn't have anything going on in the waist. Roller, as you can see, turned into a target master for him. The only I'll let you see a real, let's put that down. Don't want to shoot the camera out, right? Come on, focus. And he's got yellow eyes, so, pretty cool. We'll go again and give him a real quick spin around so you can see the details. And, yeah. The only thing I don't like about this robot mode is that backpack does not like to stay. So, there you go. Now, Roller is technically a triple changer. Oh, yes, you already saw his vehicle mode. You've seen his target master mode, but he also has a robot mode. It is epic. Such an epic robot mode for Roller here. So, get him back into robot mode. Just flip that. Tuck him back down. And we'll pop his arms out. And now we got Roller in his robot mode, and his articulation is G1-esque. Just his arms move, and that's it. I'll give you a close-up there of him. Give you a quick 360 of him. There you go. There is Roller in his robot mode. Pretty neat, right? Okay. So, there we go. And now we're going to talk about the figure that I absolutely dogged pretty bad in vehicular mode. And that, of course, is going to be this deluxe class from, we'll call it, you know, Battle for Cybertron set or whatever. So we'll show from the front. We'll talk about his appearance first. From the front, he's actually not a bad looking toy. Okay, decent looking. I would say that's, for what it is, pretty solid. But we look at the side, it gets kind of ugly quick. In the back is a total disaster. And the biggest problem with this guy in robot mode is the gimmick ruining the toy, because his gimmick is he's got this little button here, and if you press it, he spins. Yes, that is his gimmick. So, but I'll go ahead and bring him in close to the camera here for you so you can really see what he looks like. See all the detail A's. Yeah, not bad. But he does have a few redeeming features, and he is the only Optimus Prime that I know of to ever come with something that resembles a Tommy gun. And he's also the only, he's also pretty easy to put into a really cool pose. A lot easier than other Optimus Primes to put into the side shooting pose with his Tommy gun. And I gotta admit, I like that. That looks pretty cool. So yes, this toy does have some redeeming features, just none of them in vehicle mode. So, now we're going to talk about the next toy. Just don't fall over on me, Optimus. Like the other ones have been. We're going to talk about, of course, Cyberverse Prime now. And as you can see, his blue fart energy blast can, fit into his matrix chamber in his chest if you want to have that shooting out. And there's his matrix chamber, and we'll close that up. Oh, I guess if you really want to see what it looks like up close, there you go. It's just painted on. It's not removable or anything. It's, it's a Cyberverse toy. And if you want, you can put the blast effect in his gun, but as you can see, it kind of weighs his arm down a bit much, and that happens. But whatever. I still think this is a pretty excellent toy. He's got a decent amount of articulation. He's got, front and back, the foot. He's got rotation and bend there at the knee. He's got ball-jointed hips, so all sorts of action there, of course. Ball-jointed shoulders. He's got a nice 90-degree bend there at the elbow. Of course, he's got bicep rotation. And he's got ball-jointed wrists. And his head is, can do all sorts of posing as well. Can't look down there very much, but it can do basically everything else. So, out of this batch of toys here, my island of misfit toys, even though this one doesn't technically belong in it at all, just for myself personally, and for the Jada toys, which will fit in with some other lines, as we'll get to. I think my absolute favorite one would be, of course, the Cyberverse one. I like him a lot. I think he looks really cool, and I'll just show off the quick little tour of his details. Just give you the up-close picture so you can see what he really looks like, and that's it. So, yeah, that's it for this section. Got to get another group together, and we will be talking about it. See you in a minute. Okay, this next one we're taking a look at almost made it to the island of misfit toys, but didn't. And you're thinking to yourself, well, that's MP01. How could he possibly make it to the island of misfit toys? He's a masterpiece, right? Like, there's the masterpiece line. Well, thing is, most of the masterpiece line, I don't think the scale really works very well. I mean, at first glance, you're like, oh, okay, maybe that kind of works. But, I don't know. If we get some older toys out called alternators, which I think this guy scales with much better, you can see the scale with your typical modern masterpieces really doesn't work. So I would say for modern masterpieces, this guy is a fail. as far as fitting in. But if we're just talking the alternators, which were the Masterpiece cars before we had Masterpiece cars in, they are worse in a lot of ways, but we're not here to bash on alternators very much. This is what you had, and I think that scale works really in an excellent way with MPO1 and the alternators. I think that works awesome. Absolutely awesome. So he's not from the Misfit. He doesn't belong on the island of Misfit Toys because he's the commander of my alternators. So, but that's not really why we're here to talk about alternators and all that in relation. But I did want to show him off with the line that he blends with, at least in my view. So we're, of course, now going to take a much closer look at just his, truck cab here. Vehicular mode. From the front, he looks great, actually. There's a Repro label that I got from the MP10 set that I adorned my MP10 with, and I think that works pretty awesomely as a front license plate, 1984. And from just the front on, he looks great, and it's aged exceptionally well, I would say. Now, looking at the side, much less so. And let me show a mold that I think this guy came first, but I think this guy, who I really made fun of in the other section, I think this was inspired from this. I mean, if you look at the design cues from this guy, you can see them carried over to this guy. So, I don't think this mold in vehicle mode has aged all of that well. He does have some really cool, unique features, like he's got shock absorbers, which no other Transformer the alternate. Actually, no, I have seen that on other Transformers. The alternators, which is why I think he fits in with alternators. But modern masterpieces do not have the shock absorbers in the wheels, so that's something, right? There you go. So it is a very neat touch, but as far as how it looks, I think it looks fairly good, but the lack of covering for that is pretty glaring. They should have, in my opinion, at least colored that red, maybe. It wouldn't be so glaring if it blended in with the rest. The back looks okay. It doesn't look too bad, but just compared to what we've gotten since, this is definitely a relatively overall kind of a weak looking vehicle mode compared to a lot of other ones we've got. Not to say this bad, just weak overall. So anyway, that's enough yapping about his vehicle mode. It's time to get this guy transformed into his robot mode so we can really talk about it. PO1 obviously in his robot mode with a couple of his alternator buddies, and I think they look pretty good together. I did do a little bit of a perspective with Smokescreen there in MPO1, but I wanted to put Jazz right next to MPO1 just so you can see exactly how alternators, a typical alternators car scaled with him, and it scales fairly decently. It basically comes up to Optimus's stomach. The alternators could be a bit bigger to be in scale with him, but I think it does work okay. It certainly does work better than a modern masterpiece car, which I'll go ahead and we'll swap out Jazz for Prowl here. And yeah, that's more like Bumblebee. He's absolutely tiny next to MPO1, so that really doesn't work. And neither really does Ratchet. He worked a little bit better, but certainly still too short in my opinion. Ratchet and Ironhide were much closer to size and Prime in the show, so that really doesn't work. So even for the bigger Autobot cars, it really doesn't work at all for MPO1. So, but like I said, I think the alternators are a decent scale, and I think it works out okay. And I do have to say, I think MP01 does look really good in robot mode still. His robot mode does still hold up, I think. Even with all the other Optimuses we've gotten, including the new and improved Masterpiece versions, I think the original one still does look very nice appearance-wise in robot mode. But there are a lot of deficiencies with this toy, which I'm about to talk about. So let's go ahead and get smokescreen out of the way there. And I move in a little bit closer so we can get a better look at Optimus. And I'm going to talk about his deficiencies a little bit. And counterintuitively, well, you just saw one of them happen on camera. One of them, one of the biggest problems with him is the fact that he has so much die-cast, right? I've never, with all of my, Transformers that are mostly plastic, they have unless they have that flaky chrome on them, they've never chipped like this. It just doesn't happen on toys that are mostly plastic. And I've not been hard on this toy. It has taken some tumbles because, well, as you can see, he has stability problems. That's another one of the main issues with this toy. It was like this even when this was brand new, when I got it back in 2004, I believe, was when this originally came out. So, yeah, this has had, yeah, he's got some stability issues, as you can see, right? But let's go ahead and we'll talk about articulation real quick, because that's something everybody's interested in. He's got movable flaps there, but if you push in, it can go up, so that's your personal preference. He's got toe articulation. His foot goes down. Kind of moves side to side. There's some ankle tilt, but not much. As you can see, we've got basically double jointed knees. Of course, rotation there at the top of the leg. And he could basically, if you move his hip skirts, his legs can go any direction. Pretty universal ratchet joint up there. He, of course, does have waist rotation. He's got individually articulated fingers, so yes, he is a Transformer that can kind of flip you off. I mean, not entirely, but kind of, right? He's got rotation there above the bicep. Of course, he has a 90-degree ankle bend. He's got his, when pull it out, his shoulder can go up that much. And he's got a butterfly joint because of the transformation, yada, yada, yada. His head's on a ball joint. I need to put floor polish on it. And that chip in his mouth plate is from one of the times he took a tumble off a shelf. Oh, he has a talking gimmick. I am Optimus Prime, and I fall down a lot. It's unfortunate. He, of course, has an axe accessory, and he just has another hand underneath there, obviously. But I wanted to show him off with the axe. When you take the axe off, you can see his hand. It's pretty obviously there. And another feature he's got in robot mode is he has flip-up communicators. He's got Starscream on this arm. And on this arm, he's got Bumblebee. What's interesting about this toy is, specifically when I think about communicators on his arms or whatever, this toy is so old, 2004, that actually is before what I would call the modern smartphone era. Now, they existed back in 2004, but it was pre-iPhone and Android, really. So, very interesting just to think how long I've had this toy, because I got this when it came out, so it just shows you how long I've had it for. But, yeah, I mean, overall, cool toy, but it definitely has its problems. I'll give you a quick 360 here, just so you can see all the details. Oh, he's got the piston on the back leg, which is pretty neat. Yeah, I mean, I do like this figure, but there are far better Optimus Prime toys now. Basically, what I would call this figure is a he's not very good. Oh, his foot came off. That explains that. As I reattach it, I would not say that this is a particularly good quote action figure at this point in time, or a really that great of a toy. And what I mean by that is he's prone to he's got a lot of issues, right? That makes manipulating him less fun. I would really call him he's good as a display piece, but not only if he's really stable. Oh, and of course he does have a matrix. I'll show that off. And this used to light up, but the batteries are dead. There's a light that'll, light this up blue. But the light in mine, or the batteries in mine are long dead, so there you go. Doesn't light up anymore, but whatever. But it's there. It's a matrix. So anyway, like I said, not a particularly good action figure by today's standards, really, at all, because of his issues. However, he is a nice display piece, and if you can get him somewhere where he's not likely to fall over or whatever, and you have some things that can scale with him, he's a decent addition to your collection. But I don't think at this point, I would say he's definitely not a must-have. He is if you are an Optimus Prime collector or an Optimus Prime completist or whatever, yeah, then of course he's a must-have. But truthfully, he's good, but there are far better Optimii now than when this guy was released. But, back in the day, he was an absolutely amazing toy back in 2004. Now, not so much. But anyway, that is it. Don't fall on me again, as you can see. That's it for MPO1. On to the next part. Okay, here we have our leader class primes transformed into their vehicular modes, along with some generations and G1 figures. And I think the leader class in vehicular mode scales really well with the generations in G1 figure there. Yeah, that works for me, because the cabs are basically Voyager size. It's, I like to show. We'll move this guy over here too, because that's my stand-in Voyager. And yeah, I think that works for sure. And that works with Deluxe Class G1, Deluxe Class Earthrise, Deluxe Class Siege, and we'll call this just, Generations Legends Class. I think that works out very nicely. So there you have all of that. So yeah, I think vehicle mode works pretty great for these guys. So let's go ahead and talk about these figures, of course, now one by one. We'll move a little bit closer. Oh, because I'm bumping my camera as I move it in. And we'll, of course, talk about Power of the Primes, Optimus first in his vehicle mode. And this is, well, one of the worst Optimus vehicle modes ever. It's about as bad as that Deluxe Class one that I showed off earlier in the video, the one that came with the G2 style Megatron. Yeah, the trailer is just poor on this one. I'm not the trailer, I'm sorry, the truck cab. The truck cab is just piss poor on this. What can we really say? It is a mess. Yeah, it's just not good. The trailer is very meh, for lack of a better term. It certainly fares better than the truck cab, but by no measure would I call this thing good, So yeah, it's just not good. However, so let's kind of just roll him back there to the side, and we'll talk now, of course, about Titan's Return, Leader Class Power Master Prime, and truthfully, I think in vehicle mode he's pretty great, actually. Great looking. figure. I do wish this looked a little bit more like the G1 toy, because they absolutely, in my opinion, completely nail it with the trailer. But it'd be nice if this was slightly more G1 style. But I don't know. As is, it's pretty awesome. It looks great. I don't have very many complaints about it. It just looks like a tough, rugged truck. And, I love the trailer. You have multiple mounting points for the weapons. I just choose to mount them up there. You can also mount them on the side if you want. And, yes, these are duplicate guns because I also have Combiner Wars Magnus, which came with the same set of guns, and I just swapped one with Magnus and gave Magnus the other Optimus gun because I just like that better. And, absolutely fantastic. And this mode has a fair amount of interaction with the Titan or Headmasters. Now, the thing about Optimus is he is a completely optional Headmaster, right? Because I'll just show you one quick part of the transformation here. For his head, you just open up his truck cab and basically you fold his head out. And you can actually keep the Titan Master in there if you want to during the entire transformation. So this guy doesn't even have to be a Headmaster if you don't want him to be, which is appreciated. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're not to robot mode yet. But oh my gosh, let's seal this back up. There we go. All right, so I'm just gonna show off the interactions. I got Optimus's Headmaster here, Orion Pax, I guess. Whatever, I'll just show them off. These little dudes can fit in the gun, so yeah, if you want, you can have them ride sideways, shooting. I'm sideways, and I'm shooting, pew, pew, pew. Right, okay, so there's that, and of course, we got multiple mounting points here for the figures, or the Titan Masters, and I mean, pretty great, actually. I really, really, really like this vehicle mode. Absolutely great. Much better than the other one. No question about it. It's way better. So, yeah, that's basically all I got to say about these guys. Vehicular modes, we're going to pause real quick and kind of get into some intermediary modes for these guys. Here we have the leader class figures in what I would call their intermediary modes, which is obviously not their final robot form or their vehicle mode. First one we're going to talk about, I guess, is Power of the Primes, Evolution Leader Class Prime. We're going to talk about his Orion Pax form. As you can see, he's basically Voyager size. I have him next to the Titans Return Optimus base mode, and you can just see how he scales with that. He's just ridiculously large compared to that base mode, but we'll talk about that base mode here in a moment. But anyway, there he is with the leader class gun, which is, for him a little ridiculous. It's just huge. That's him wielding it with both hands. Oh my, he doesn't want to let go. There we go. That took a bit of force. There he is, just wielding it with one hand, and looks a bit large for Mr. Pax there. So let's go ahead and separate this gun into two pieces. Now, of course, there we go. Angle the camera up just a tad. You can, of course, have them dual wield if you want. So yeah, that's what that looks like. I don't know, that back part of the gun doesn't really look like a gun. I don't know. Yeah, it's not the best that it could be. So anyway, I'll give you a quick 360 of this guy. Right, the back obviously doesn't look that great, or the side, but the front, all joking aside, the front is a very, G1 cartoon accurate of Orion Pax from the episode War Dawn. This is obviously the best official representation of that we've ever gotten. I'll go ahead and show off his articulation. He's got foot articulation, up and down a bit there. That's it. He's got a bit more than 90-degree bend there at the knee. He's got thigh swivel and ball joints there at the hips, and as you can see. Snap that back on. Obviously, no waist rotation. Head is decently articulated. We've got ball jointed shoulders there. We got a bicep swivel. We got actually double jointed elbows, and we at the hand it folds down some. So, for what this is, definitely not bad. Because it obviously integrates into Exosuit Prime back there. But yeah, not too bad. And there you go. That is basically what this looks like. Definitely pretty good for what it is. And if you want a G1 cartoon accurate Orion Pax that also turns into an Optimus Prime, well, this is going to be the figure for you, So, yeah, very cool. All right, now we're obviously going to take a look at Titan Returns Prime's base mode, which of course homages the original base mode that the G1 Power Master Prime had. And the G1 Power Master Prime looks better in base mode, in my opinion. Unfortunately, I don't have that toy, so I can't do a comparison. Well, if I did, he'd be in this roundup. Who am I kidding? So anyway, obviously we got a Legends class. Even I think the Legends class is a bit large for this figure. Deluxe is way too big to fit into his base mode. That's just ridiculous. So let's take Deluxe class off to the side. In the Legends class, that works a little bit better. But really, this is designed for, the toy. Jeez, old Pete's. The Headmasters or Titan Masters that these came with. And of course, just like in vehicle mode, he can mount the gun. You can kind of just have him chilling out here. You got multiple mounting points for these dudes. Maybe you can have a few of them conferring back there or whatever, or using it as back. But whatever. I mean, I don't really ever display it in this mode because it's not my favorite, but it's okay. It is what it is. Maybe, Micromasters would probably do okay. Here, let me just grab something that's about Micromaster sized. That works decently well. My guys are falling over in the background. So anyway, that's it for this part. I'm going to go ahead and transform these guys into their full robot mode, and we'll talk about that next. Okay, guys, here we have both of these Optimii into their respective robot modes. And I have to say, I think both of their robot modes are pretty fantastic. But I went ahead and obviously we're including some Generations, Deluxes, and Legends class there, just so you can see the scale. And for Power Master Prime, I think him being, quote, the old style leader class, as in, a really large figure, I think it really works with the Generations figures because the original G1 Power Master Optimus Prime was huge because, well, he's a trailer that combined with the robot like Ultra Magnus, in sense he was basically a gigantic character. So I think for this guy it works. For this guy, not so much, because obviously that is just going for a straight, yes, he is a Power Master Prime, as in his trailer combines with him to form him up, obviously. But the aesthetic that robot mode is going for is not that. It's, season, prior to Power Master Prime is what that one's going for. So the scale doesn't work nearly as well. But there is a scale that works out well with that Optimus, and I will show that here now. I think Masterpiece actually scales really well with Power of the Prime's Leader Class Prime, and a lot of people kind of use him as a poor man's, let's go ahead and grab Masterpiece Ratchet. I think that scale more or less works. With that Optimus pretty well. A lot of people use him as a poor man's MP10. Although I have no idea what that thing is going for in the secondary market now, so it may not be such a great choice now for a poor man's MP10. But I could definitely see it back in the day when this thing was in stores. because he really does have a great looking robot mode, and he more or less is MP10 sized, which we'll get to when we get to the final part of this video where we're doing comparisons and wrapping up vehicle mode, or the whole thing really. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about each one of these individually. We'll start with Power Master Prime, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll do a quick 360 of them. Again, like I've said, I swapped one gun with the Combiner Wars Magnus. So there you go. I think he looks pretty good from all angles. I think it's a very good looking toy. I'll give you a close up there. Yeah, man. Get those guns away from the camera there. Give you a real quick close up of him. Head looks great. Really, I think everything on this toy looks, fantastic. A lot of the same design cues from the G1 figure are in this, and there's a few things I wish they had done a little bit different. Maybe giving them blue hands and made the front cab just slightly more G1 Power Master Prime-esque. But still, as is, I think it looks absolutely fantastic. Now, whoa, shoot. The Takara version of this one does look a bit more G1, but this is still really good. Let's go ahead and talk about articulation. His feet, they do move, but I wouldn't call this useful articulation because you kind of have to have it in one spot. Otherwise, he'll just topple over as he already has. So... and he dropped the gun. Well, that's all right. At least he holds on to him better than Magnus does. But anyway, let's go ahead and continue on his articulation. He's got basically a 90-degree bend there at the knee. He's got a thigh swivel, and he's got a nice ratchet there at the hips. He doesn't have any waist rotation due to transformation, clearly. Got a nice ratchet there. It lets his shoulder go all the way around. Arm goes out that much. 90-degree elbow bend. And his fingers fold out like that. And his head basically rotates all the way around with the little headmaster in there. So, decently articulated. Not nearly as articulated as some of the other figures. But, definitely good enough. A heck of a lot better than the G1 version of this, obviously. Screw it. We'll not worry about this second gun right now. Don't feel like trying to fiddle with it. But yeah, overall, this is absolutely a fantastic figure. And I'm really happy to have this. I think it's great. I think it looks great. Is it perfect? No. Obviously you saw him fall over. And the articulation is not up to what some other ones are. But still, it's certainly not terrible either. Come on, gun. Just get in there. There we go. Don't fall. All right, cool. He's good to go. All right, sit him off to the side. Now we'll grab Power of the Primes, Leader Class Prime, and front looks great. The back, not so much, right? He suffers from ugly back-itis. Plus, this Prime, we don't think of as Power Master Prime, so seeing, the trailer integrated with him is less than completely fantastic. But I'll go ahead and just give you a quick view of all his details here. Get a good look at that noggin. His articulation's pretty good. He's got a pretty large amount of foot articulation. He's got ankle tiltage and, bends down, bends up, the whole 9 yards. He's got more than 90 degree there at the knee. Thigh swivel, that much. Can go out that much. Forward that much. Back further. No waist articulation. Shoulder all the way around. Out. More than a 90-degree bend at the elbow. No hand articulation, and head goes all the way around. And that is basically it. So his articulation is decent, but nothing. It's not the best. It's pretty good. There's a few common Transformers articulation points that he doesn't have, but considering what this figure's function was, I still think it's pretty good, and I think he turned out well. And obviously, I think both of these figures are worth having if you are an Optimus Prime collector or completist. These both belong in your collection simply by virtue of that. So, that, of course, is it for this part. On to the next part. Okay, this next group that we're showing off here are basically the deluxe class Optimuses, or Optimii, that I have here. And, I think this scale doesn't work quite as well for Optimii. I think, for, the G1/Generation scale, I think, Voyager is a lot better, frankly, But I just wanted to show these guys off because I think they fit in, decently well with what we're looking at. So I just wanted to show them with some deluxe cars. And, of course, we got Fall of Cybertron video game, Optimus Prime. We got War for Cybertron got that wrong. War for Cybertron video game, Optimus Prime. Fall of Cybertron video game, Optimus Prime. And, of course, the IDW-styled thrilling 30 line of Orion packs, lastly. And we just have some various deluxe generations cars with them. Some from the video games and not others. But back when deluxe is... Because the original War for Cybertron line was right before the first great shrinking of deluxe classes and making them more expensive. That kind of works, right? Just a big deluxe versus a smaller deluxe. That scale kind of sort of works. Especially if you see that is a time when Optimus was a little less of a developed leader or whatever, that works. But, of course, when we go to the Fall of Cybertron line, which is this guy here, that just doesn't work. Sorry for scale. It doesn't work. This guy works decently well if you see him as a pickup truck and not a semi, which, isn't shocking since this is, Orion packs and not Optimus Prime. So that kind of works, I think, okay, too. Not too bad, but that one really is a big shortcoming of, for scale. So anyway, I'll go ahead and get the deluxe cars out because they're all done rolling out. They've transformed, they've rolled out, I'm so hilarious. Anyway, we'll start off with truthfully the worst one, which is the Fall of Cybertron video game Optimus. It's a decent representation of the video game, but let's face it, this is a fairly underwhelming vehicle mode overall. I mean, it's okay, but it's certainly not one of the best ones, right? It's just not. It's okay, but not the best. Whatever. This I really, really, really like. Of the three, this is probably my favorite vehicle mode just because it's so unusual. In fact, it's the most Cybertronian vehicle really that they've ever done Optimus Prime. This looks the most Cybertronian ever. This kind of reminds me a bit of the failed trans tech idea that never happened. That was a line that was supposed to exist after Beast Machines and never did way back in the day. So, but yeah, I mean, I do like this. It does look neat. I will say one thing, though. It's a gigantic pain in the ass to transform this thing. Just gigantic pain in the butt. Yeah, very fiddly and I would not call it a fun transformation, but you're seeing the good details of them. And then, of course, we got the IDW-style Orion packs here, and I attached his weapons just, for keeping, just to show that off. But, of course, if you want to see what he looks like, and focus. If you want to see what he looks like without weapons, this is it. Nice looking figure, has a lot of good details, all these guys roll fairly well, so they're all very functional. And that's more or less what they all look like in vehicle mode. So time for me to take a moment, get these guys into robot mode, and we'll talk about that. Okay, here we have those deluxe class figures transformed into their robot modes. And as you can see, the deluxe class doesn't work super well for Optimus Prime in robot mode either with other generations deluxe class figures. It kind of works with the Legends class, but the other deluxe class figures are just too big to really go with Optimus as a deluxe, right? Now it kind of works with the bigger deluxe, but I don't know. Optimus should definitely be bigger than that compared to Prowl, so it just doesn't work super well. But I just wanted to show that off since we did take a look at some comparisons in vehicle mode. So now that that's out of the way, let's get these other figures gone here without knocking over our Optimii, hopefully. Come on, Prowl. There we go. Very logical of you. Okay, so bring these three guys together here because they're the stars of this. And I guess I will go logical order. Least favorite to favorite of this group here. So, okay. Obviously, my least favorite is going to be this Follow Cybertron one. As you can see, it's pretty dinky compared to the War for Cybertron one. But we'll go ahead and we'll get a close-up view of him to, of course, start with. Get a view of that head sculpt. Yeah, it's a nice-looking head sculpt. I mean, he's not bad-looking. He's not a bad-looking sculpt. Also, as far as the smokestacks go, this is the official transformation. But if you want, you, of course, can very easily just fold these up. Personal preference to which one you like better. I don't know. I don't know if I have a super big preference one way or the other on the smokestacks, but whatever your mileage may vary. Let's go ahead and cover articulation. He's got a ball-jointed feet, rather. He's got a pretty big knee bend there, way more than 90 degrees. He's got basically ball-jointed hips, and he's got a thigh rotation there. He's got 360 there at the waist. Universal joint there at the shoulder. Of course, has an pretty far elbow bend there, bicep swivel, and wrist rotation, and his head is basically on a ball joint, so it can do pretty much whatever you want it to do. So how do I feel about this figure? It's okay. It's definitely not a must-own figure, unless, again, like I said, you are an Optimus Prime completist, then yeah, but if not, this is entirely skippable as it's a fairly unremarkable figure overall. So, there you go. Pew, pew, bang, bang. He's pointing a gun at you. All right. As I knock over the other Optimii. All right, go there. Yeah. That's the fun of doing this stuff at arm's length. You bump into stuff, they fall over. Awesomeness of these toy reviewing. Okay. All right, just stay down there, Optimus. It's fine. Let's move the camera in just a little bit closer, so maybe we're a little less ham-fisted here. See if he can stand. Okay. I guess when he said one shall stand, one shall fall, he was the one who was going to fall over. Anyway, I will now go with, picking a favorite between these two is a little bit tough because I like them for different reasons. I really like this Orion Pax here just because this is very different than just, a traditional Optimus Prime. Obviously, this is supposed to be Optimus before he's Optimus, so let's go ahead and just get a really nice view of that head sculpt. It looks absolutely great, and obviously we got all of the design cues, plus the paint on this looks awesome, and I just really like this figure overall. It is absolutely a fantastic looking figure for, Orion Pax, the records keeper on Cybertron. So, yeah, I enjoy it. Now it's not, super cartoon accurate, but it is IDW comic accurate. So let's go ahead and talk about his articulation. He's got ball joints there on the ankles. If you want, because of the transformation, you got an extra joint there for foot articulation. He's got not quite a less than 90-degree knee bend. Now it bends forward some too, again, due to transformation. He's got ball joint there at the hip, and he's got a thigh rotation. He's got 360 there at the waist. All the way around at the shoulders. In that much, out that much. Bicep swivel. 90-degree bend. And, of course, wrist rotation in his head. Let's see. It's on somewhat of a ball joint. So, a pretty decent range of motion there. And, yeah, I mean, I really like this guy a lot. I would say if you can track him down for a reasonable cost, yeah, he's a really good thing to have. A good add to a collection. So yeah, I like this guy quite a bit. Now, we're gonna talk about this Optimus Prime now, the War for Cybertron video game Optimus Prime. And the reason I like this guy so much is probably because he is the most different looking G1 styled Prime that there is, that we have, right? I mean, he doesn't look like really most G1 styled Primes, with his chest coming way out like that. Even his gun, look how different that is than a standard Optimus Prime blaster, right? The standard Optimus Prime blaster looks a lot more like that than like this. This is a very unique weapon for Optimus, so that's very cool. And just his overall appearance is, just in my opinion, this is an absolutely fantastic looking Optimus Prime toy overall. They did a great job of capturing the look from that video game. And in my opinion, they're still kind of the best Transformer games. Those Fall of Cybertron game, War and Fall of Cybertron are my they're still my favorite Transformers games even now. Devastation is also quite good, but War 4 and Fall of Cybertron are still the best Transformers video games I feel they've made up to this point. But anyway, enough about that. Let's go ahead and talk about his articulation real quick. Ankles on a ball joint there, so you got good amount of opposability. We got just about 90 degrees of bend there at the knee. Thigh rotation and ball jointed hips. He doesn't have anything in the waist due to transformation. His arms all the way around, out that much in 90 degree bend. I'll show it off on the other one. He's got wrist rotation, and his head is basically on a ball joint. So he has a good amount of posability. Not quite as posable as the other two, but still pretty darn posable. Now, my only complaint about this guy really is how panely and fiddly he is, but that's more due to the vehicle mode he has to transform into. I think for a deluxe budget that they had back in 2010 when this thing came out, I think it was 2010, I'm not 100% on that, I think they did a pretty fantastic job. And this thing was only $10, and we're paying $20 now for... Anyway, that's a whole other discussion. But, yeah, come on, don't fall on me, Optimus. Jeez, old Pete's. Yeah, we'll just let them cross guns for whatever reason, the two video game guys. But yeah, so that's this group. Only one do I really feel is underwhelming. I think the other two are great. So that's basically it for this. On to the next part. Okay, guys, here we are in the part of the video where I'm going to talk about the Voyager size figures, or Voyager-ish size figures is what we're going to talk about, that did not come with a trailer. And you're asking yourself, well, hey, I see a trailer there. So what do you mean didn't come with a trailer? That's Earthrise Optimus's trailer, if you haven't figured that out by now. So, yeah, I did cheat a little bit. And I just wanted to show off a trailer with these to show, because, well, the trailer is compatible with all of these releases. So we'll start off with, we'll put him put this guy in the back, and we will start, of course, with Studio Series 38, which is an absolutely fantastic looking figure. In fact, I think all three of these are awesome. And of course, there is his weapon storage. If you want to utilize that in vehicle mode, you can. But let's go ahead and take the gun off just so you can see. Oh, the smokestack was slightly crooked. Just so you can see what it looks like. And truthfully, it's a little bit bent up there. Whatever. He's corrected now. A pretty fantastic looking vehicle mode, I have to say. I really, really, really like this a whole lot. Just an awesome, representation of Optimus from the Bumblebee movie. And a lot of people, before, Earthrise came out, they're like, this could be your, basically, Generations Classics style Optimus. And I can see that. I do think he could be a contender for that if you wanted something to look more like the Bayverse, but still look very G1. This, I think, definitely, fits that bill. And just to show off the trailer compatibility, here, let's pull the Earthrise trailer out of this guy. But since it's a 5mm port, it easily plugs in. But as you can see, it doesn't scale all that well. I mean, it's pretty small with this figure. I mean, it looks a little bit better if you kind of bend it like that. That way you don't have quite the big gap between the truck cab and the trailer. But it's still small. And doesn't scale particularly well with Studio Series 38. But you want to see what it looks like? That is what it looks like. And that is pretty much all I have to say. And of course, he got slightly untransformed because that trailer goes into his hitch so tightly. So we just resecure him. Now he's back to normal. But yeah, there you go. Studio Series 38, pretty outstanding. Now, of course, we're going to talk about... we'll save him for last. We'll now talk about the Jada Toys one, who I feel is a little bit better for this trailer than either one of these other examples here. And the reason I say that is this is just very slightly smaller than a Voyager. And of course, the biggest complaint about this trailer is its size. So the fact that this is a little smaller makes the scale a little bit better with this guy. But of course, the long, end of the truck there kind of makes it look a little funky. But, you turn them, it's not nearly as bad. But obviously, we have one hell of a turning radius with both Studio Series 38 and this guy, and it works out great. I think this scale really works. In fact, this is how I typically have it displayed on my shelf. I have the trailer hooked up to this guy because I just think it works. So, anyway, that's what that looks like. I'll go ahead and we'll show off his details real quick, and this is a pretty phenomenal looking G1 truck cab, obviously, and obviously it's a little stylized. We got some extra stuff. I really like the silver horns on the top. Those look really cool. The only thing I wish they had done is put the cab, the safety lights on top. I wish they had put yellow on the end of those. I mean, you could do that yourself if you really wanted to, but it just would have been a nice touch if it had made it on there. I mean, they did add tail lights and mud flaps, and I don't know, I do dig it. It looks nice. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Siege last, and this was the other contender before Earthrise to be your classics Optimus Prime. And truthfully, even with Earthrise Prime, I think either one of these would be an excellent choice for your general Generations Optimus Prime. They both scale really well, and they look really great in robot mode, which of course we're going to be getting to. But yeah, this is what Siege Optimus looks like with his weapons attached, with his weapons detached, and of course, if you want a Cybertronian style kind of truck but still recognizable as a semi, which this guy is a lot less Cybertronian looking than the deluxe class War for Cybertron video game. It looks much more like an Earth vehicle, but it still does look, it just looks more like a futuristic semi than something totally alien. But I do dig it. And of course, he is naturally trailer compatible. And, oh, I just pulled it off. Whatever. He is trailer compatible. And that's, of course, what it looks like. And I think the scale works okay, but I do think it works better with this guy. And his turning radius is pretty tight. And it is, spoiler alert, pretty much the same with Earthrise. It's got a really tight turning radius because it goes so far up where the trailer sits versus where the truck cab body is. But I don't know, that does work okay, you know. So yeah, if you wanted to see what that looks like, that's what it looks like. And yeah, Siege, nice figure. I definitely dig it. And yeah, very cool. And of course, this guy is still in stores in a lot of places, at least as of the recording and upload of this. If you watch this 2 years from now, well, you're not going to be able to find any of these in stores. But yeah, there you go. That's it for this part. On to robot mode for these guys. Okay, here we go with the Voyager class figures that did not come with a trailer in their robot modes. And you're like, well, one of them isn't in a robot mode. Well, this guy here, let's fix that. Optimus Prime transform. Sorry, I know, lame joke, but couldn't help myself. I'm done. I'll go home now. Bye-bye. We'll just roll him back. But you get an idea of basically what something this size can more or less unfold into in robot mode. So there you go. We'll go ahead and we'll talk about Studio Series 38 first. He's got some ankle tiltage there. He's got, his feet can do that. He's got about a 90-degree bend there at the knee. He's got, we'll just call it hip rotation there at the top of the leg, and he can go forward that much. Can't really go back, but he can go all the way out to the side. He's got pretty much full 360 there at the hip, but the panels kind of make it a little hard to articulate. His shoulder, this piece, to get really full articulation, you gotta fold this up, and it'll, go all the way in around like that. And then of course we do got 360 there, and yeah, let's fold that back down. Got a bit more than 90-degree bend there at the elbow. Of course, does have wrist rotation and bicep swivel, and his head is on kind of a standard joint. It's not really a ball joint, but whatever. And that's basically it for his articulation, more or less. And he's a pretty nice looking figure. I know some of you will be like, well, he's not a G1 Optimist, he's from the Movieverse. Well, I'm sorry, he's voiced by Peter Cullen, and he looks like G1 Optimus Prime, so whatever. Anyway, I'm just giving you a close-up here of him, bottom to top of his front, and get a look at that noggin there. And yeah, he's a nice looking figure. And we'll go do the same thing with the back, and there you go, there you have it. Yeah, I think if you are a fan of the movies and you are looking for kind of a movieverse style G1 Prime, you're not going to get any better than this, at least, for an affordable price point. There are masterpiece third-party ones and all that cost more than this guy. But then again, this guy is probably, he's faded from the, all you're going to be able to do is find him on the secondary market anyway at this point, and I have no idea what he's costing. Probably more than what I would actually pay. I don't know, if I had to put a dollar amount on the most I'd pay for this guy, would just depend. Of course, it's going to be up to the individual. I personally probably wouldn't pay more than about $40 for that, because there are so many other choices available of Optimuses in that scale that are really good. But if you just absolutely love it and have to have it, hey, to each their own. But anyway, that's him out of the way. Now let's talk about Siege Optimus, of course, the immediate predecessor to our current Earthrise leader class, and I'll put that in air quotes, leader class. We've got of course, he comes with his axe because he's a lumberjack and he's okay. He sleeps all night and he works all day. I got that courtesy of Lazy Eyebrow Reviews. Anyway, yeah, that just works because it is kind of fun. The axe is a little bit divisive. Some people really like this accessory. Other people think it's silly. If you're in the camp of don't like it, it's easy enough to kind of disregard. All you got to do is pull it out, and can fold it up thusly. And if you want, you know, he can use it as a shield. But if you don't like that, you, of course, can just put it on his back. Where from the front, it's basically, you know, out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. And we'll go over his articulation real quick. We got the feet bends here, you know, in those two ways. We got ankle tiltage. We've got a pretty deep knee bend there. Doesn't have, he only rotates a bit up there at the hip, but you can go forward this much, back pretty much all the way, out pretty much all the way. Of course, he's got full 360 waist rotation. His shoulder goes way out, of course, all the way around, unsurprisingly. He's got a bit more than 90-degree bend there at the elbow. He's got some pretty gnarly wrist rotation there. He's got, you know, typical head articulation. And that is basically it for Siege Optimus. And this guy, if you look, you wouldn't have too much trouble finding this guy at, say, a Walmart still. You know, they're out there still. Not nearly as plentiful as they were, obviously, when Siege was the thing they were really promoting instead of Earthrise. But you can still definitely find this guy out there in the retail world for retail cost. And if you like it and you haven't gotten it, definitely get it. But, of course, as this video ages, that will definitely be less and less possible. Because him and Earthrise are the only ones you're really going to be able to readily find nowadays. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think this is a pretty fantastic toy. Is he perfect? Of course not. You know, the truck kibble on him is a little bit of a detracting thing. And of course, I did modify mine. I removed most of the battle damage from him with isopropyl alcohol. I didn't get it all, but I got the vast majority of it. And I think he's a great looking figure. We'll go ahead and we'll go in for the close-up view of him. Awesome, awesome head sculpt. Really like it. And there are actually a few things I like about this figure better than the Earthrise figure, which I'll talk about real quick. I think the overall proportions of him, you know, body to legs, much better on this Optimus than on Earthrise. Another thing I really like a lot better on this Optimus is, even though it's the same head sculpt, you know, there's actual, focus for me, camera, there's actual silver paint there in between the eyes, whereas it's all blue on the Earthrise. So it makes the Earthrise eyes a lot harder to see than this guy's. So the head sculpt, I just think this looks a lot better on this guy than it does the Earthrise one, simply because of the paint. And of course, the way his belt is painted looks better on this one. So there are, and of course, you know, his lights here are painted, his cab lights, and they're not painted on the Earthrise. So yes, there are some things about the Siege one that are better than the Earthrise. I kind of wish, I don't know, they had taken the best elements from the Siege and put it into the Earthrise, but whatever. We'll be talking about Earthrise soon enough. And yeah, that is basically it for this group of Optimii. We're on to the next group. Okay, here is a section that I've been looking forward to making ever since I started this video, and this is going to be the Voyager class figures that come with trailers. And you're saying to yourself, well, this guy is a leader class because you're showing Earthrise, and he's a leader class. He's only a leader class because of his trailer, and it's not a very good trailer, especially compared to the G1 trailer, as we'll soon be finding out. But I think this size class works exceptionally well, having him, you know, basically be the Voyager class with all the deluxe class G1 and generations. This works really well. It works great with the Legends class, the whole 9 yards. So, yeah, absolutely fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and actually get rid of, we'll get rid of the Autobot cars for a few minutes. They will make a little bit of a reappearance in the vehicular mode portion, but let's just get rid of these guys for the moment. And I'm going to show you one of the reasons I'm pretty irritated to be forced to spend $20 on the trailer for Earthrise Prime just to get the robot mode, and that is the trailer size. I mean, here we have, G1 Prime, just his trailer fits Earthrise, Optimus, and his trailer, right? That shows you kind of just how ridiculously small Earthrise Optimus's trailer is. Because if we put these guys next to each other, let's put G1 Prime right there, and then we'll put Earthrise Prime right there. Look at that. It's just kind of... Here, let's line them up trailer to trailer. I mean, it's kind of silly. And here, I'll just pop the trailers off of both of them. And as you can see, the cabs are very similar in size, right? I mean, no, they're not identical, but they aren't that far apart in size. So we'll go ahead and we'll take a look at G1 Prime's just cab first. And this is still absolutely one of my favorite Optimus Prime vehicle modes. I think they did a great job the first time around back in G1. And I still think this looks pretty fantastic. Yes, this is a Hasbro reissue from some year. But yeah, it looks absolutely great, I think. Fabulous. So let's look at Siege Optimus in his vehicular mode. As far as which one you're going to like better, of course, is going to be down to kind of your personal preference, right? It's going to just depend on what your likes and dislikes are for which one you're going to prefer. Personally, I like them both for different reasons. And yeah, so next up, we're going to, I guess we'll just do a quick outside view of the Siege trailer. I'm sorry, Earthrise. One thing I wish they had done is they could have at least painted this a different color than the rest of the the trailer. Would have made it look a little bit better as it is. It just looks very plain Jane. Not, repro labels will fix that, but in theory, you shouldn't have to buy repro labels just to get something to look okay. Obviously, we got the struts there to get them down. So yeah, there's his trailer, such as it is, and we'll take a look at just the outside of G1 Prime trailers first. And yeah, I mean, obviously much more attractive. And of course, if you want stabilize it, you easily can. And of course, everybody talks about this, but one thing that is much more difficult to do with Earthrise Prime's trailer, there we go, is getting cars into his trailer. Legends class like Bumblebee work. Sort of. Does it? Let's hold him up. Oh, I think I know. Here, just let me resolve that. Actually, that shouldn't be holding him up, but whatever. I had this gun mounted inside the trailer. Maybe that was keeping Bumblebee from going in. Let's try again here. Okay, yeah. Bumblebee's able to go into the trailer. So let's try a Earthrise Deluxe from the same line. Wheeljack. Nope. Definitely not gonna go in there. Oh, just for fun, let's try a G1 Deluxe class. Jazz. Nope, not really. I could cram it in there, but I'm afraid I might scrape the paint on Jazz. It's definitely not worth the. It might fit. I just don't want to chance it. So some deluxes will fit, but a lot will not, right? So that's a pretty legitimate complaint, I think, of Siege Prime's trailer. I'm sorry, Earthrise. I keep calling him Siege. I meant Earthrise Prime's trailer. So let's see what fits in G1 Prime's trailer. But let's get Roller out first. Obviously, Legends class are gonna, fit in there, no trouble at all. Will Jazz fit? Yep, he sure will. And what about Earthrise? Even Earthrise Wheeljack can roll in there. I mean, I could probably get him in if I opened the trailer and saw what was blocking him, but he's not too wide. Fits in nicely, So there you go. Right, clearly the G1 trailer is vastly superior to the Earthrise trailer. Just even looking at it externally, but let's go ahead and open these up. There's G1, and let's see just how many vehicles can fit on G1 Prime's trailer here. We can fit 2 deluxe cars pretty easily on the sides there if we want. Let's go ahead and lift up the drone here. And we'll put Roller in there. And if we want, we can, whatever. We can kind of deploy Legends class Bumblebee there, but whatever. So, yeah, I mean, it's got a lot of room for vehicles opened up. Nice, roomy trailer. Lots and lots of, quote, play value there. There you go, right? Now let's do the same thing with Siege. Well, first of all, he doesn't have any sideways stabilizers. So we'll deploy the drone. And obviously a lot less color in this one, right? So, okay. And we'll do that. So, I have a feeling if I put a deluxe class figure on here, the side is going to just collapse down. Doesn't really work. Which is a shame because I know when I was a kid I loved to use Prime's trailer as like a mobile base for the Autobots, but that play pattern really won't work with the Earthrise trailer, as you can see. In fact, it just tips over with just 1 deluxe car in there. So I guess technically the best you're going to get is like just kind of 1 deluxe car hanging out in the center of it, which is meh, right? Definitely disappointing in comparison. Plus, obviously, it's bereft of color compared to the G1 Prime. The G1 Prime one is just much better. Yes, I know repro labels will fix some of the appearance issues, but as far as, and of course, does not come with a roller. That will change when I have pre-ordered the Hasbro Pulse exclusive Centurion and accessory pack. And let's be honest, the only reason I bought it was because of the accessory pack. I don't really want to recolor Brunt all that badly, but I certainly won't mind having all the accessories that he comes with, including roller. So that's basically it for the comparison in vehicle modes. I'm going to pause real quick, get these guys in a robot mode, and we'll talk about them more. Here I have these 2 Optimii transformed into their respective robot modes, and I couldn't help myself. I had to show off the mobile base functionality of the trailer again, and clearly G1 pulls it off way better than Earthrise does. It's amazing I was even able to fit those robots into the trailer at all. That took quite a bit of canoodling, and I'll tell you what, I know this shot's a little dark, but I didn't want to try to move the table because this would obviously come tumbling down. So I'm going to pause real quick. We're going to get a little closer to the light source, and the bots will be out. Obviously, though, clearly in robot mode, the G1 trailer, of course, just like in vehicle mode, is far superior. See you guys in a second. Okay, folks, here we have the two Optimii, standing in their trailer using these as, quote, mobile repair bases for Prime. And clearly, we can see the size difference here between the two trailers, especially respective to how much Prime himself takes up in each trailer. Yeah, as you can see, the Earthrise trailer is ridiculously infinitesimally small compared to the G1 trailer, and the G1 trailer is just in pretty much every way better. So, I guess we'll take a look a little bit at the transformed trailers, and just in a little bit of detail here. Obviously, we got the repair drone here that's a bit better. It's got the double articulated arm there. It's got that piece that opens and closes. You got the spinning radar thing. And these missiles, the cockpit opens there. And these will shoot. I don't feel like shooting a missile across the room, but those missiles shoot. So there you go. And this one, if you guys have watched any Earthrise Optimus reviews, which I'm sure you have, you got this. This piece removes and can be used as a jetpack or whatever on Prime, but I don't really feel like demonstrating all that because I'll literally never use it. But anyway, there you go. There are the two trailers. Put them to the side. Let's just compare really the main event here, the two bots that we really want to see compared. And that, of course, is G1 and Earthrise. And yeah, this guy's not quite Voyager-sized in robot mode for sure, but he most definitely is in vehicle mode. But let's go ahead and compare him to a modern large deluxe Ironhide. Let's see how... And as you can see, he's still slightly taller than Siege Ironhide, so, he is definitely bigger than deluxe class. No doubt about it. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring in the, of course, main bot we're comparing, and that is the two primes. And, oops, I think both of these primes are pretty awesome in their own respective way. I guess we'll cover the features of the G1 bot himself first. His articulation, of course, is very limited since this is a G1 figure. He does have a couple of points of articulation in the leg, but none of them are useful because if you alter them, he can't stand up, but I'll show it anyway. He's got, his foot can move like so. He's got knee bend like so. And his legs go back. But it's not like he can stand like this. He can kind of stand like that, but not all that stable. So, yes, he does have leg articulation. It's just not particularly useful. Now, as far as his arms go, he does rotate all the way around, go back all the way due to transformation. Obviously, 90-degree bend there at the elbow. Wrist rotation because they're detachable. Can go in that much, I guess, and kind of out that much. So, and his head can kind of look up if you mistransform him. So, obviously, G1, very limited in articulation, but still an awesome bot. And let's go ahead and see how he compares size-wise with some other G1 bots. Here we have Red Alert, who's kind of what we would call a standard size deluxe. Here we have Hoist, who is a large Autobot car. And, of course, Bumblebee. Now, let's move these guys just a little bit back so I can get Bumblebee in the shot here. There we go. And Bumblebee, who is a mini-bot. So, that's how that scale works out. Now, of course, we are going to focus in on Earthrise Prime, who, like I've said before, I really feel with Siege and Earthrise, they're going for mini masterpiece figures, and I kind of feel that's as much fun as I made of the trailer, because I did give it a lot of shit, obviously. I do feel the robot mode is absolutely knocks it out of the park. There is one thing, though, that bothers me about the robot mode, and it is the fact of the paint apps on the face. There should be silver there in between his eyes, but it's just blue. That makes his eyes a lot harder to see, and it is incredibly frustrating, to put it mildly, right? Very annoying. Other than that, I think this is basically a perfect robot mode, except for that one glaring omission of a paint app. Ugh. Whatever, though. We'll go over his articulation. It's pretty much the same as the Siege mold, since this is just basically a heavily retooled, modified Siege, I would say. He's got ankle tilt, obviously. He's got toe and heel bend, more than 90 degree there at the knee. He's got full thigh swivel, goes up all the way, back that much, but that can be improved if you remove this piece on the back, but I consider that cheating, so I'm not going to. Kicks all the way out, all the way forward. He does have waist rotation. Again, it could be 100% if we remove that piece, but I don't want to do that. We've got all the way around at the shoulder, all the way out, 90 degree bend there at the elbow, wrist rotation, and his fingers, 4 fingers fold out, and his head is, pretty much universal movement. So he is obviously highly articulated. We'll take a second and we will take a look at his detailing, which I think generally is absolutely fantastic. Truly, this is an incredibly great Generations Prime for the most part. So, and as we all know, he's got a matrix chamber. Let's try to show that off. And this is what happens when you just cut your fingernails. As Ultra Magnus would say, open! Damn it! Open! I'm going to pause real quick. There you go. Matrix chamber is open. Yes, you can hold the matrix. As far as holding it in both his hands, I think if you angle up his arms like so, and like so, yep, you can hold the matrix with both hands. That gives you a close-up view of the matrix. Hooray for matrixes. So, I'll give you a close-up view of the matrix chamber in him. And there you go. Give him back his blaster. And I know I didn't show off close-ups of G1 Prime, so just, well, he's dropping his blaster for now. Whatever, we'll deal with that in a second. So, there we go. Now we'll bring in G1 Prime for a super close look at him. And yeah, I do love this figure still. Even today, I think this is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, from the back, he's not so great, but that is just one very iconic Transformer right there. So, there you go. There's that. Let's get him back where he was. And as far as Earthrise Prime goes, there's his weapon back. Posed up or something, whatever. Anyway, let's see how everyone scales with him, right? So let's get a large carbot with him. Standard size carbot. Let's scoot him back because we're going to want to do a big group shot here in a second. So let's do that. Move him back, move him back. Grab the equivalent of a mini bot, Legends class, and the new, Siege/Earthrise scale Cliff Jumper there, which is, of course, going to be the same for Bumblebee when that comes out, and I can't wait to get that figure. That figure looks great. So, alright. And there you go. That is what those two groups look like. And, yeah. Pretty great. Pretty awesome. I love both of these primes a lot for different reasons. And I think they're both absolutely fantastic. So, that's it for this. On to the next part. Okay, here is another highly anticipated part of the video for me, where I'm going to be talking about MP10. Yes, I know I said in the last section it was highly anticipated, but this one is just as much so, because, spoiler alert, MP10 is still my favorite Optimus Prime toy overall. You know, even here we are. I don't know quite how old it is, but nothing has managed to beat MP10 so far. But yeah, I just thought I'd show him off with some of the Masterpiece cars, and obviously he looks absolutely fantastic with them, considering that this is the standard that you know, modern Masterpiece is, you know, based off of scale. It's all about MP10, and man, those Autobots look absolutely fabulous together. Go ahead and move these cars out of the way, and then I'm gonna turn Optimus to his side, and then we will put a few cars back just to show just how long MP10 is in vehicular mode with the trailer, and just how the cars scale next to him. So I'd say he's basically 3 car lengths, you know, to one standard size Autobot car, one small one, and one big one, you know. So, yeah, I mean, that looks, yeah, the scale absolutely works. If we just want to compare it to his cab mode only, obviously that's how he stacks with the normal one. That's how he does with Bumblebee version 1, and, of course, Ironhide. You know, fantastic, right? Gotta love the way that looks. I think it is an excellent, excellent pairing. So, real quick, I'm going to separate. Oh, I guess I'll show the range of movement with the trailer. It's not that big because obviously the trailer sits up fairly high on the cab. It rolls incredibly well, as this is on rubber wheels, or rubber tires rather, which I love. So let's go ahead and just kind of park the trailer here. The only downside to MP10's trailer is these don't go all the way forward like on the G1, but he does have some stabilizers here in the bottom, if you can get them out. There's one, and yeah, the plastic on mine is still tight. There's 2, so there you go. So we'll save the trailer, but let's go ahead and just talk about just the cab. Yes, I do have Repro labels on this guy, and yeah, he is just, even without the Repro labels though, this is a fantastic looking cab. You know, again, like I said a few times, the only thing I don't really like about the cab mode is the fact that he's so thick there in the back. But, you know, that's definitely forgivable because, I mean, the aesthetics of the cab mode are just truly excellent, I think. This is just one great looking cab mode. So, yeah, truly awesome in most ways. So, all right, now let's get a look at that trailer, and man, is that just a freaking awesome trailer. Yeah, I mean, I love the paint apps on here. I love the detail. And it just looks absolutely phenomenal from all sides. Let's go ahead and open the back up here. Get that ramp down. And let's see what Autobot cars could... Roller's in there right now, so I don't think any big ones will fit in there, but maybe Bumblebee will with Roller in there. No, Bumblebee doesn't fit in there with him, so let's go ahead and... But that's okay, because it's the same thing on the G1 toy, so obviously there's Roller. Let's go ahead and see who can fit in his trailer. Yeah, Bumblebee goes way back there, unsurprisingly, since he's just a little guy. Let's get a standard Autobot car, Wheeljack. See how he does in there. he fits just fine. Let's get him to roll out. And lastly, we'll get Ironhide, which is the biggest Autobot car. And does he fit? Does he fit? No, kind of. Yeah, you can finagle him in there. Yeah, he does fit. He technically fits. So, yeah, this is much better than the in the last part of the review I was talking about G1 and Siege. This is much better than the Siege trailer. Yeah, so fantastic. All right. So let's open this thing up and see how many Autobot cars can fit on it. Basically, we had 2 cars fit comfortably on the sides before. I don't think that's going to be a problem this time either. Yeah, I'm not surprised we'll even use the 2 bigger Autobot cars. Will even Optimus fit in the middle between the 2 of them? He sure will. You know? And obviously, this trailer has supports on it, just like the G1 does. So, as far as how roomy is this trailer, when deployed into, we'll call it base mode, clearly, it's pretty roomy, you know. So, no complaints there. Let's go ahead and get Ironhide down and get Wheeljack down. And I have to say, I'm so pleased that I got this for $100 back in the day when this was sold at Toys R Us the first time around. You know, shame that that store doesn't exist anymore, but them's the breaks in the internet age. And well, I guess it's the internet. It was also capital, and I knocked something off a shelf that you couldn't see. But whatever. Anyway, let's go ahead and move in a little bit closer since we don't have to keep all the whole table in frame now. And let's get Optimus off of here. Obviously, comes with roller. And yeah, you can't set roller all the way back. Lift it up, and heck, that even Ironhide can fit in front of roller if that's all the way up. So that's cool. And yes, this of course has the Repro label set on it too, so any stickers you see obviously didn't come with it initially. But Roller has a couple of little features to him. He has basically some fold down panels. I like the little light on there for him, the red light. Very accurate to the cartoon. Let's see if I can get his features to work. This is what happens when you don't have fingernails. Come on, you can do it. There we go. That will hold Optimus's gun, so let's go ahead and alright, well, Optimus's gun's in his cab mode, so can't get that out right now, but yeah, you can put Optimus's gun right there and you can roll around with Optimus's gun. And of course, this thing famously can, I can get him to do it. There we go. Fold this down. Fold this up. Oops. I folded that the wrong way. I'll fix that later. And the trailer, he can actually pull Optimus's trailer now, which I'll show off here in a minute. But yeah, roller, right? So I'll go ahead and we'll do a, I'll just stand the trailer up. Just so you can see all the details inside of the trailer. See if we can get the camera a little bit higher. And yeah, it's got tons of molded detail in it. Again, the stickers are not, original to this thing. They were added by me. And of course, he has the, drone that was in the G1 trailer. And inside there, we have the little Spike minifig that came with this. So, yeah, that's basically it. For vehicle mode, I think this is absolutely, you know, fantastic. Just no other way to put it. That's it. Time to get to robot mode. Okay, here we have MP10, obviously in his robot mode, and we're doing the mobile command center thing with his trailer just for fun, just like we did with G1 Prime, and didn't work out so well for Earthrise, but it works pretty good for MP10 as well, as you can see. Plus, we're not even going to have to do a separate group shot for scale for the other bots, because you can see how they scale with Prime in the trailer just fine. And yeah, obviously we got Ratchet, a large Autobot car. We got a standard Autobot car Sideswipe, and we have the mini-bot equivalent Bumblebee. So there you go. I think that's a great looking group, and that's pretty cool. So let's just move everyone out of the way except for Prime. And we'll go ahead and show off this as a mobile repair bay, just like we did before. So let's stand the trailer up. We can't even quite see the top of the trailer. Probably have to angle the camera up a little bit, but no big deal. Let's go ahead and put Prime's arm down there. Oh, drone's coming down to repair Prime without me even telling it to. Okay, so let's step back a little bit, lean the camera up, and that gives you an idea of the scale with Prime in his trailer as a mobile repair base. Pretty cool. And of course, the trailer does have repro labels in it, as does Prime on his robot mode. So there you go. Yeah, very cool. All right. So this is obviously very similar to the G1. We got the spinning radar dish there. We got the double jointed repair arm. We got the blades there, or not the blades, the pinchers. We've got the cockpit, and we got Spike in there. So there you go. Anyway, whatever. That's it for that. Not sure remember if I showed it in the other part or not, but whatever. You got a second look, just in case I didn't. Okay, so let's get the trailer out of the way. And I guess we'll just do a quick detail look at Roller here. There you go. Okay. So let's just take a quick detailed look at the big guy himself, MP10. And yeah, he looks great from all angles, in my opinion. So yes, I realize he's not the new hotness anymore. I realize that is MP44 or Magic Square or Transform Element, or whichever is your preferred modern Masterpiece Prime. But I have to say, I think the reason I haven't bought any of those is I still think that MP10 holds up really well, even now. Of course, we're going to go ahead and show off his articulation real quick. We've got ankle rocker there. We got a little bit of forward there on the foot. We've got heel and toe, knee rotation, 90-degree bend there. We got forward this much, back that much, all the way out. He's got some thigh swivel. He, of course, has 100% waist rotation. His shoulders, can go in or go out that much. Of course, they can rotate all the way around. Of course, he has bicep swivel, 90-degree bend there at the elbow. And if you want to change his proportion a little bit, you can do that, and that really doesn't affect his posability. In fact, some people may prefer that because it gives him somewhat better proportions in the arm. So the rest of the time, we'll just have it like that. His fingers can do that. Those three fingers, then, of course, single finger to point. And his head can do all sorts of stuff. And, of course, he does have a matrix chamber. Show that off real quick. Maybe. All right, pause real quick. There's his matrix. You can get the matrix out easily. Yes, we can. There's his matrix chamber. Matrix is metal in this case. Very nice and shiny. Yeah, you can hold it, but not, about the same as Earthrise. We're not going to bother showing that off, but it's possible to do. And because this is not meant to be in-depth on MP10, but yeah, I mean, what can I say about this figure that has not already been said? This is, oh, I forgot an accessory, of course. Energon Axe. That he used in one episode of More Than Meets the Eye. At Sherman Dam, and we cannot go without that. So there you go. But overall, what do I think of this figure? I still think this is the best G1 Prime ever made. Period. My second favorite. Guess it depends on the scale we're talking about. I like MP01 a lot, but I don't know if he's my second favorite. My second favorite is either G1 or Earthrise. And I know I really bashed the crap out of Earthrise's trailer, but the robot is pretty amazing overall. So, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, MP10 is still, in my humble opinion, the king of the G1 Prime Mountain. Now, there's a figure I wanted to show off next to him, because back when I talked about this guy's robot mode, I said he could be a, quote, budget MP10 for certain folks if they didn't want to spring for MP10. And that is, Power of the Primes, Leader Class Prime here. Was it Power of the Primes? I think so. Evolution Leader Class Optimus Prime. Whoops. And as you can see, they're basically the same size scale. The Leader Class one is a hair bit shorter than MP10, but not significantly so. And you can tell they're definitely going for the same aesthetic, etc. So I know this is a comparison a lot of folks want to see, so I just thought I would show it. So that is basically it for all the close looks at these figures. All I got to do now is go to the final part where I kind of wrap up and have a little bit of general discussion about these figures and where the line is. So, see you in a bit.
Okay, folks, here we are wanting to wrap this whole thing up. We took a gigantic look at a whole lot of G1 Optimii, right? We looked at basically, I would say, the evolution from G1 to more or less the modern day. So we kind of took a look at the entire history of Transformers as a toy line, and they have put out a crap load of Optimus Prime toys for an obvious reason. Optimus Prime is an incredibly popular character, and he sells. Hell, I have 18 variants of him right here in front of you, so if that doesn't prove it, I don't know what does. As far as which of these figures you like, it's going to be entirely individualized, and I think we can see that the Transformer line has definitely went through some ups and some downs throughout the years. They have not all been home runs, as you can plainly see from this pack here. But where the Transformers line is right now with Generations, I think is absolutely a wonderful place. In fact, I'd say it's just about the best time to be a G1 fan since G1 right now. This is an absolutely amazing line, and I gotta say, some of the recent advancements, such as ankle rockers and long heels, made standing some of these guys up very easy, and some of these guys not so much. But anyway, regardless, we got our big group shot. That's it. I really hope you guys like this. If you did like this and you're new to the channel, please subscribe. If you want to see these videos keep coming, engage with the content. Leave me thumbs up, thumbs down, comment, whatever. Watch my other videos. All of these things help me out tremendously. Anyway, that's just about it. So, thank you so much for watching. Live long and prosper, and I'll see you next time.